And quickly, a summary of a bad estate plan is no protection from the living probate, which Bill failed to have. No protection from nursing home expenses. Again, Bill failed there. No protection when Bill died from the death probate. Family had to go back into court again for the death probate. And like we said, no way to pass on those values and life experiences. And after Bill dies, had Bill thought about it beforehand, well, there are really three things that he should have been concerned about after his passing. And that's what happens if Mary gets remarried. And now the new spouse wants to come in and tap into all of Bill's hard work and all of Bill's finances and wants to spend it on himself as opposed to Bill's family, which is obviously where Bill would have wanted the money to go. And also, lawsuits that can come up against the family, and creditors can come in and make claims and take all of Bill's hard work and all of his money, whereas had he thought about it beforehand, maybe he could have protected it. And the third area was, again, the nursing home expenses, which he went through and had to pay $84,000 a year on average in Tennessee. Well, obviously, if he could have done anything to avoid that and protect himself from that, he certainly would have wanted to do so as well. Now, after Bill dies, we're going to meet Mary's dear friend, used to be Bill's friend as well, the neighbor, Ralph. He came and consoled Mary through a tough time and really helped her get through everything. And after, talking for a while and giving her some time, he eventually asked her out on a date and proposes marriage to her. All of a sudden, Ralph wants to marry Mary. And like I said before, had Bill thought about this, which is certainly something you can think about, your spouse getting remarried after you're gone, he would have wanted to protect his assets, his funds for his family, and he certainly would not want his wife's new spouse to come in and be able to use them and take advantage of them. So at this point, let's just keep a little note, an important note. A well-drafted estate plan covers this and keeps the money in the family and protects from outside marriages, from that second marriage to the new spouse. A good estate plan blocks that transfer outside the family. And like we said, there are also potential lawsuits that can come up if Mary, God forbid, gets in some type of accident that she's at fault, or nursing home expenses. If Mary now needs to go into a nursing home, other expenses that can come up that if we can plan for, we want to, and we want to protect them for. And Mary now, after this process of a year and a half or so, she now is in charge of the entire estate. She gets the full estate over from Bill. And an important note for women here is, in America, they live an average of 14 years after the death of their male spouse. Mary also is hopefully going to have some time, just based on the average, to use the estate during her life. And she does. She lives for 10 more years, and the estate appreciates. It goes from what it was, $700,000, it's now doubled to where her estate is worth $1.4 million. And she lives a good life for 10 more years with Ralph. And then, unfortunately, 10 years later, Mary is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And she unfortunately has to be placed in a nursing home to take care of her while she has this awful disease. About half of the elderly in the U.S. will spend some time in a nursing home before they pass. And obviously, in Mary's case with the Alzheimer's, she's unable at this point to manage the estate, the $1.4 million that she has in place. And sadly for the family, particularly the children, they have to go back into court for a third time. Remember the living and death probate for Bill. Well, now with Mary and her Alzheimer's, again, with no planning in place, who gets to make decisions for her? Well, you have to go back into court for another living probate. And at this time, you have the two children who, as we said, are very different. Who is the court going to appoint in terms of taking care of her? I don't know. It's up to the court. But certainly two very different options in their children. And after some time goes on and they go through the living probate process, now Mary passes away. And for a fourth time, because of a lack of planning, the family has to go back into court and now deal with Mary's estate, a fourth probate, Mary's death probate, to again change title to all her assets, allow creditors to come forth against the estate. But a fourth probate in, let's say, a 2-year period for the family is very difficult. And again, these are coming at times when the person is incapacitated when the person is struggling or the person has just passed away. So it's very emotional and difficult for a family. And if at all avoidable, you want to avoid it. But for this family, over the years with their father, the 2-year period with Bill, and now 10 years later with Mary, they have to go through their 4th probate process. Now, in addition to that, we have no idea what's going to happen with Bill and Mary's legacy. Is Mary's name just going to be a name that's stuck on some family tree? Again, because there was no planning for a way to pass down the values, the relationships, the wisdom, the traditions, it's going to be completely lost forever because of a lack of financial and estate planning.